Kenya is on global focus. The nation Kenya is on the global focus. And the reason being, Kenya is the spiritual epicenter for end time revival. If you're born again in Kenya around this time, you're backsliding. You're losing it. If you're one that is born again in the Republic Kenya, or you are Kenyan that is born again, and then around this time you're backsliding, you may not have a chance to be restored. You may not have opportunity to be restored back to the fold, because the grace for you being born, for you repenting and coming back in the Lord may not be certain. It might not be certain. So I want those Kenyans who are born again. You are born again. These are the times you must really hold your salvation tight. Revelation chapter 3, verse number 11. Hold fast that which thou hast, lest anyone steal it from you. So these are those times. So we are at the times of Revelation chapter 3. That verse is in performance. If you lose it, you may not rise up. That's why I fear for people who are backsliding in the now. You may not have an opportunity to be born again or to recapture you are to recapture your salvation. So you must overcome. Verse number 12. You need to overcome in the now. So the entire focus, global focus, is on Kenya right now. Both Satan's witches and end time army of the devil, they are focusing on Kenya. Then also these global bodies that I've told you, these global bodies are not just there. Most of them are actually devils. They are founded on devil's principles. And Satan uses them to finance end time wickedness. So we are seeing 1 John chapter 5 and verse number 19 in performance. The whole world is getting into real wickedness. So nations and the entire world are getting on a higher performance of wickedness. Sin overdrive. Sin on the rise. And Kenya is on Satan's radar. And not only is Kenya on Satan's radar, but also Satan is having his witches migrate into Kenya. Satan is having his high-ranking witches. High-ranking Satan's witches are migrating into Kenya. So we are in the time when we shall have a lot of high-ranking witches from other nations. They are migrating into Nairobi, Kenya. Then also they are migrating into coastal Kenya. So coastal cities of Kenya, that includes the areas Ukunda, Malindi, the areas Kilifi, Mtwapa, these areas, Lamu, the cities in the coastal Kenya. These cities are actually being, right now, they are going to be occupied. They'll be scrambled for by high-ranking satanic witches. And it's not accidental. It is a scheme. It is well designed. Reason being, coastal Kenya and Nairobi will serve two major purposes. So follow. Now, satanic bodies that control world economies are actually having their footings in Nairobi so that they'll control finance, they'll control commerce. Someone, according to the book of Ezekiel, as well as the book of Isaiah, Satan is a chief entrepreneur. Satan is chief entrepreneur. Satan is a businessman. He's always busy. And Satan controls systems. Satan controls Babylonian system. Now, in the end time, there will be an allure to wealth. So there will be 1 John chapter 2, verse number 15, that cautions we Christians not to be lovers of the world. Why? Because the world will look lovely. So Satan is migrating those who control finance, those who control cash, those who control economies, those who control monies. And so they'll be finding their footage in Nairobi. And Nairobi, I say, will be very expensive. Among the cities in the world, you find that there are cities that are expensive. And one of them is actually, that this time I was in one of the cities and I thought, one of the nations, I thought it was expensive. But right now, Nairobi is poised to be one of the expensive cities in the world. And so one of those bodies that are migrating, I told us, migrating into Kenya, is the United Nations. The United Nations are not just migrating to Kenya that they woke up yesterday. It was not just that they woke up yesterday and they're looking at their budget. No. These ones are actually, these are happenings. These are actually matrix that are taking place in the end time. It was born to be so. So United Nations and all the bodies allied to United Nations, they'll be headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. Then all these super rich trillionaires, they'll also have their footing in Nairobi. And Nairobi will be one of the super power cities in the world. And so these bodies, they don't employ they don't employ people because you're Christian. These bodies actually are actually open to a lot of Satan's manipulations. There is tools. Born again Christians who are there, you're like Daniel in Babylon. So these bodies are like Babylon. So if you're a Christian working for UN and such bodies, then you are a Daniel in those bodies. So those bodies, I actually equal them to Babylon. Now, these bodies will be used to perpetuate Antichrist agenda, Antichrist end time agenda. So the things are falling into place. Things are falling into place. We're in the end time. So Kenyans need to understand this one better than anybody else. If you are Kenyan anywhere on the globe, understand, if you are out there, you're like a Jew that is not in Jerusalem. So Kenya and Jerusalem are two cities in the world that needs to be watched. Nairobi and Jerusalem. So these bodies are bodies that will be very instrumental in Satan unveiling his end time agenda. So end times agenda includes that one. Plus, these are the very, very financiers who will actually finance or bankroll wickedness that will be in Kenya, wickedness that will be in Nairobi. Then Satan will have his high-ranking witches. They are already moving into coastal Kenya. So Mombasa, Mukunda, let's say those counties of Mombasa. So we have Mombasa, we have how many counties? We have, coastal Kenya, we have counties of Mombasa, we have Lamu, then we have Taita Taveta, then we have Kwale, then we have Kilifi, then we have Tana River. Now, these counties will serve as homage. They'll offer homage for Satan's high-ranking witches. Satan's high-ranking witches. They are migrating into Kenya and they are focusing on coastal Kenya. Something about coastal Kenya, if you're a remnant and you're a prophet and you are keen on knowing, coastal Kenya, residents of coastal Kenya are actually slaves. Coastal Kenya is bound. Many tribes along the coastline are poor, not by default, but by design. If thou will retain and maintain riches and wealth in coastal Kenya, you must play by the rules of the dark world. If you want to maintain holiness, then you must also prepare for battles. So you must be one that is very strong spiritually to maintain your righteousness and maintain your destiny fulfillment in holiness at the same time. So that's why you find that coastal Kenya is a scramble for people who want blood. Persons who want blood. You find that there are these religious sect bodies that are in coastal Kenya, and most of them you find that they are actually used by the devil as altars to harvest souls. Devil uses them to harvest souls. So you hear those cult bodies and people dying, and people dying even after people have died. Others are still dying. They are not afraid. There are altars that controls that. These altars are actually these witches that are being sent there. They are going there also to capitalize on those innocent, ignorant souls. The more they are dying, let the state hear, the more they'll be dying, the better for the kingdom of darkness. So the kingdom of darkness is growing closer, bringing more powerful witches, high-ranking witches. These higher-ranking Satan's witches are coming also to reinforce altars or to position themselves with new altars. These are altars that will be receiving marine powers. Their proximity. Security, someone check my roof. Security outside. So the proximity of those altars, proximity of the ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the coastline residents is not coincidental. Is not a coincidence. Did someone hear what I said? So the coastline and invasion by high-ranking witches, as well as the tribes that are along the coastline, is not coincidental. Satan knows what he's doing. These witches, the more they come, the more they will have deaths. So deaths of people dying in alcohol, dying in witchcraft, dying in poverty, dying with sicknesses, dying out of all manner of sexual perversions. The more they die, the better for the kingdom of darkness, because they shall have those altars be strong. So Satan's high-ranking witches are coming to build altars plus consolidate power for Satan. So there will be a lot of marine activities, a lot of marine power activities, a lot of marine power activities. That's what I tell Christians. When you say you want to go to the beach, which beach are you going? Christians who say that you're going to the beach, I say, hey. And that's how many Christians are so ignorant. The beach is not just a beach. You cannot be going to that beach and you leave that place innocent. And all of us know activities that happen in the beach, even sex in the waters, where women sometimes you went to the beach innocently. Then those beach boys actually forces you, they take you deeper in the waters. And then you're like, you cannot say no to them. And they have with you sex in the open, daringly in the waters. Please, there are powers that are feeding on it. There are powers that are controlling such incidences. There are powers, so you leave those waters with devils and demons. Now, when such acts happen, there are altars that are fed. Satan's altars are fed. Then there are pastors who uses powers, who receive powers from marine waters. Those pastors in Kenya today, there are many. Yeah? And this is why be very cautious of pastors who preaches to you and they have to give you handkerchiefs. And I wonder about the Sifunas and these two funny politicians who went to some altars in Nairobi. And you want vitamba. I say, you people, you're not clever. That's how you sell your destinies. If you want to fulfill destiny, then it must be in righteousness by God's doing. So you find that Kenya has pastors. Kenya has a lot of pastors who are subscribing to marine powers. Marine powers. Any pastor that dangles to you anointing oil, anointed water, anointed handkerchief, anointed pen, anointed envelope, those stuff, fetishes, they are actually from marine world. And so witches are being sent, and they shall colonize, they shall have their altars in Mombasa, in Ukunda, in the areas of Kilifi, in the areas of Mtwapa. There will be a lot of sin in coastal Kenya. Then Nairobi will be epicenter of sin and finance. Nairobi. So Satan is having them migrate. So why is Satan doing so? Satan is doing so because he wants to defeat the end time revival. Now this revival that Kenya will have is a revival that will be the last one. This is the revival that will be the last revival. It is the only revival that will eventually sweep the whole world, and then the end will come.